There's a story that's been quietly building in the background since the trade deadline, and honestly, it's one that Habs fans need to hear. Because what looked like a missed opportunity a few months ago might actually still be alive. Back at the deadline, GM Kent Hughes confirmed that a major deal had fallen through. At the time, a lot of the speculation pointed toward Matthew Knies of Toronto. But now, according to Bruce Garriock of the Ottawa Citizen, the real name that was circulating around the league was Vincent Trocheck, the New York Rangers veteran center. And when you think about it, that actually makes a lot of sense. Trocheck was one of the most coveted names at the deadline, and pretty much every team with playoff ambitions had him on their radar to some degree. What we don't know yet is how close that deal actually got. But reading between the lines of what Hughes said publicly, it sounds like it got pretty far down the road before things fell apart. And here's the part that matters most for Montreal fans. Hughes hasn't closed the door. At the Canadiens' end-of-year press conference, he was pretty direct about it. He said it depends on the other team, but that nothing stops Montreal from making their case and coming back to the table this summer. That's not the language of a man who's moved on. Now, if you watch the playoffs, you already know exactly why this conversation is so important. The Canadiens had a remarkable run. They knocked off 2 legitimate cup contenders in back-to-back rounds, and they did it with heart, compete, and a whole lot of young talent pushing through adversity. But when the Eastern Conference final came around against Carolina, the tank was empty. The depth just wasn't there, and it showed in the most painful way possible. The biggest hole on that roster when things got hard was down the middle. Nick Suzuki carried so much of the load, and there was simply no one behind him who could consistently take that pressure off his shoulders. That's the void Trocheck fills. A proven, experienced second-line center who's won at the highest level and knows how to perform when the stakes are real. Would he have changed the outcome against the Hurricanes? Maybe, maybe not. But he absolutely would have changed the dynamic of that series, and that matters. So the question heading into the summer is whether this thing can actually get done. And the honest answer is that it's genuinely possible. The Rangers aren't in a desperate spot, so they're not going to give Trocheck away. They can afford to be patient and hold out for the right return. But here's an interesting wrinkle. Trocheck is 32. He carries a 10-team no-trade list, and there's a reasonable chance Montreal isn't on it. If Trocheck himself signals that he'd welcome a move to the Bell Center, that changes the whole negotiation. Suddenly the Rangers are working with a player who wants out, and Montreal gets a seat at the table with some real leverage. It's going to come down to whether Kent Hughes is willing to pay the price. And after watching this team run out of gas 1 round too early, something tells me he already knows exactly what he needs to do. Go Habs!